And we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is Sarah Harris, President and CEO of the Black Business Association, as well as we have Coach Wendy here, who's founder and president of Forgiving for Living, Inc. Thank you so much for joining us this year. Last year, for those of you tuned in, you know that we had an awesome, amazing program for Juneteenth, again, in partnership with Comerica Bank. And we were so honored to hear and know that they were interested to do it again with us this year. Yay.
Yes.
And it's such an amazing thing because as we all now get used to and into the conscious stream of celebrating with Juneteenth, knowing that it is a special celebration of freedom, even though we know that the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863, it still took 2 years for it to completely be realized. And so if some are not free, then all are not free. And so we are all joined together in commemorating and celebrating Juneteenth. And the Black Business Association, as the oldest active ethnic business support organization in the state of California, founded in 1970, we have continuously advocated for the advancement of Black and disadvantaged businesses throughout the country. And so as a part of that, it's always been a major, major part of our freedom in expressing our enterprise, innovation, and ways to be able to supply and fend for ourselves. And we know the struggle in that. There's great struggle in that, and all of the disparity that has happened. But we are glad to have partners that are looking to help make it so that the parity is on par with where we're supposed to be. But there's a long, long trek to get there. So having said that, we just want to have a good talk about living and doing business in the land of the free. How free that is, right? And we'll talk more about that. But now I want to bring in here our presenter. We have Coach Wendy Gladney Williams, who is founder and president of Forgiving for Living. Wendy, what say you about Juneteenth and our coming together again this year?
Wow. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's just such a joy to be here. And what I want to say is, first of all, I feel so honored that with Forgiving for Living, we're able to help shape the minds of young people for the future, because Forgiving for Living is all about working with young women and helping them to build self-esteem, helping them to provide life skills for them, college readiness, and also financial literacy, and all the various tools that they need in order to have the life that they need to live. Because if we're going to be able to live free and to be able to enjoy the sacrifices of our ancestors who gave their lives to help build this country, that we need economic freedom. We need mindsets and skill sets to go with that. And one of the things that I'm so excited, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about this from our special guests, but Forgiving for Living is a small business. Sometimes people forget that nonprofits are also a small business. And so for myself, I have run now for over 30 years in tandem a small business as well as an entrepreneurship. So I'm an entrepreneur, and I help people in their lives in such a way that without having true freedom, without having support, without having knowledge and information, just because you're given a distinction or a status such as freedom, it doesn't really do everything for you, because you have to have the right tools. And today, small businesses and entrepreneurs, we need help also from our corporate partners, especially when it comes to understanding
Mhm.
finances and understanding how to navigate the fields of, whether it's grants, loans, teaching us about financial literacy, teaching us as relates how to build our businesses, because that's really how we're going to not only have freedom but stay free, because
Mhm.
freedom is also a mindset, but it's also being able to control your own environment for the future that you desire.
Mhm.
So, as the president and founder of Forgiving for Living, I'm so excited to be here today. And so I say thank you to you and the BBA, because also Forgiving for Living has had the honor of partnering with you and to make sure that we can bring workshops to young girls, young women, and making sure that they stay in the know as well. So thank you for your commitment to the community. And
Yes.
now
And
it is
now.
my honor and my privilege to bring our special guest on board, and his name is Kevin A. Watkins. Kevin is the External Affairs Market Manager for Comerica Bank, and his title is so long we can't even get it all up there on the page. But he is here representing the bank, Comerica Bank, and their commitment to Juneteenth and their commitment to small businesses and to entrepreneurs and to nonprofits all alike. And so we say thank you and welcome, Kevin.
Yes, thank you, Sarah and Wendy. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit, Kevin, about your role with the bank, but also the bank's commitment to Juneteenth.
Definitely, yes. So, as you stated, my name is Kevin Watkins, and I am the External Affairs Market Manager for Southeast Michigan, and I'm also our National African American Business Development Manager. I manage relationships among community, civic, and government leaders in Southeast Michigan. And I also manage relationships nationally within the African American community, including small business owners as well as nonprofit organizations. And I coordinate our Community Reinvestment Act efforts as well. I'm definitely extremely proud to work for Comerica. Our commitment to the community, it starts with our CEO, Kurt Farmer. Kurt, he's definitely placed a heavy emphasis on ensuring that Comerica colleagues support the communities in which we serve through volunteerism. Last year, our 7,500 colleagues donated more than 66,000 hours of volunteer time, and that equals more than $1.9 million worth of time invested back into our communities. And really, because of these efforts, we've been the recipient of several different awards and recognition. But most recently, we were named a 2023 honoree of the Civic 50 by Points of Light. And that's actually the world's largest organization dedicated to volunteer service. And this is our eighth consecutive year and the ninth time overall that Comerica has been recognized with this achievement. And, as we get into Juneteenth, Comerica Bank definitely recognizes the historical significance of this day and truly embraces the celebration as America's second Independence Day. We remain committed to stand by our communities and fight for racial justice and equality. One of Comerica's core values is to be a force for good. And within that framework, it's an expectation to embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion as strategic assets. And to go along with that, we do have several different employee resource groups. And the Comerica African American Network is the longest tenured employee resource group, and that's been in existence for over 30 years. So, in recognition of Juneteenth this year, our CAN groups in Michigan, California, and Texas organized in person events celebrating Juneteenth. And we also had a live broadcast of the Road to Juneteenth with Dr. William Delaney from the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And of course, as you all know, that was founded in 1915 by Carter Woodson.
Mhm.
And we've also sponsored several different Juneteenth events across our national footprint. That talk though with Dr. Delaney, that was definitely eye opening, and we had a spirited conversation really about the history of Juneteenth, where we've been as Black people, and where we are now, and where we're looking to head to. So that particular discussion, it was well needed and it was welcomed, and I'm definitely glad that Comerica Bank and our representatives from the CAN Employee Resource Group were able to hold that particular discussion.
Wow. Before we turn it back over to Ms. Harris, I just had a couple of comments and tidbit things that I just also wanted to add. You know, as a nonprofit serving the community, especially within the Black and Brown community, I also just want to say publicly thank you on behalf of Forgiving for Living for Comerica Bank's support of our organization, because you've been a partner with us in the community now for, I want to say almost a decade. It's been a very long time. And so we're very grateful. And then I also wanted to just comment to you about when you were talking about Mr. Delaney about Asala. We have an entity here in Los Angeles called Our Author Study Club that is a subsidiary up under Asala. And I feel proud to have been part of that as well. And the key thing about that is keeping our information and our knowledge in the community and before our young people so that we don't lose it. And so thank you on behalf of all of us here for your support with that. So now, Kevin, I am actually going to stir things up a little bit right now. And I am going to throw you off a little bit because it's not one of the questions we were going to say, but I want to
That's all
ask
right.
a personal question.
Yes.
How do you feel as an African American gentleman that now Juneteenth is a federal holiday and the role that your bank is playing, Comerica Bank is playing? So for you as an individual, as a, I'll just say as a Black man, how do you feel about that?
So I'm definitely happy that it's a federal holiday. It's a recognition it's long overdue, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it came about, it should not have had to come about that way. However,
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that it was able to come about in the way that it did. You think about the murder of George Floyd, and
Yeah.
that really sparked so much within this country. And we as Black people, we have constantly had to fight. We've constantly had to operate from uh, depths of disadvantages, and we've had to overcome. So for us to be able to come to this moment, it's definitely a great moment, and I'm glad that we have it. But we still have a long way to go. You said that
Mm-hmm.
earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But Comerica Bank and there's other organizations as well. We're glad to partner with you all, the Black Business Association, as well as Forgiving for Living. We have several different community partners, and we really just want to continue that fight. We want to empower Black businesses. We really want to empower Black people as a whole. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to be a part of that fight. And you mentioned the financial literacy piece of it. That's really my job. That's what I do as an external affairs market manager. I go into our communities and teach financial education,
Mm-hmm.
and I teach that to individuals, our youth. I also teach it to business owners. And these business owners, they might just be starting out. They might have been in business. They may have been in business for a little bit of time, but maybe they need some assistance and they need to know what's the next step. How do I grow my business? So, really, in regards to CRA, the Community Reinvestment Act, we focus our efforts on businesses that have $1 million in annual revenues or less, right? Our goal is to get these businesses above $1 million in annual revenues. So
Mm-hmm.
by partnering with organizations such as yourselves and teaching these financial education at these events, and we have our small business boot camps, by doing that, hopefully we can get a lot of these businesses over the threshold. So I'm definitely proud to work at Comerica. Um, I'm glad that Juneteenth is now a national holiday, but the fight's not over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a basketball fan, right? You think about Kobe Bryant, right? There's a clip of Kobe Bryant, may he rest in peace, but there was a clip of Kobe at the finals, and I believe they had just won game 2 or game 3. They were up
Mm-hmm.
2 games or 3 games, and the reporter said, "You don't look happy." He said, "Job's not finished." And truly, the job right now is not finished. There's
Yes.
still more work to be done.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's a great segue to pass this back over to Sarah Harris, president of the BBA, because she's all about making sure the businesses here in, especially Southern California, but even beyond, are getting the right access to, entities such as Comerica Bank.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and you really touched upon one of the key pillars of what we're trying to press upon in terms of it's not over, it's not done. With the tragic death, murder of George Floyd, yes, we got a lot of funding initiatives and attention and everything, but the what we don't want is for it to wane, for it to trail off and feel like um, that it's been satisfied. No, there's a long, long way to go. I want to, before I ask you your question, I wanted to bring in something which it's just floored me as an astounding, but I'm not really surprised. But the Brookings Institute, and I don't know how I'm trying to get as big as I can, but just in terms of the numbers for Black businesses, we had a nice growth going on just before the pandemic, which was 13.64%, which happens to be larger than all businesses in general. So that was pretty good. But then, of course, um, after when the pandemic hit, one of the largest groups hit was for Black-owned businesses. I am proud to say, though, that Black women-owned businesses did thrive. So that was a good thing. But one of the things that got me is that if if Black business ownership continues to grow at its current rate, which is 4.27, 4.72%, it will take 256 years to reach parity with the share of Black people in America. Um, that's too freaking long. And this was as of May 24th this year. So these are statistics that are bearing themselves out for this year. So to me, that is just mainly saying how far we have to go, and that it is pressing upon all to continue to support and pour into the Black enterprise, and considering all of the innovation, all of the accomplishments, all that we continue to show how much we can thrive if they would just stop putting those roadblocks and measures into place that create that disparity. So, I just needed to kind of convey that in terms of where we really are. Um, but overall, and how do you feel? And for Black businesses doing in this economy, and what strides are Comerica doing or will be doing to make a difference in this way?
Definitely. So I appreciate you bringing up that particular article from Brookings. I have comparative information that's from that same report. So it is alarming when you look at it. So currently, Black businesses only make up 3% of all businesses that have employees. So
Mm.
we are 14% of the population, but we only make up 3% of all businesses that have employees, unfortunately. So our counterparts, our Hispanic brothers and sisters, they have 7%. Our Asian brothers and sisters, they have 11%, and our white brothers and sisters, they have 61%. So we fall behind all of them, unfortunately. And really, in order to look at that, well, why are we so far behind? And we started behind the eight ball. We've had a number of uh, different disadvantages placed at our feet that we've had to overcome. And you look at some of those. First of all, our enslaved ancestors, of course, that is the number one reason that we are starting at such a slower pace, right? But then beyond that, once Juneteenth came about, once our ancestors had their freedom, then there were laws put into place. You have the Jim Crow laws. Those were put in place in order to not allow us to vote. You had segregation. That was a part of that. Now, segregation while it was bad, it actually started up because we were not able to utilize services from our white counterparts. We had to rely on ourselves. So that actually started a boom in entrepreneurship. However, we know that segregation it was wrong, and it's a reason that we actually are at such a lower pace of black business ownership, right? So you really have to understand where we came from, and I know that you two understand, of course. um but for individuals out there that may not, just do a little research on Jim Crow, do a little research on segregation, on redlining. There were black individuals, we were not able to purchase homes in certain areas. um there were just so many disadvantages that we had. So in order for us to combat that, you take a look at organizations such as yourselves, Forgiving for Living, the Black Business Association, and then Comerica Bank. So we partner with organizations such as yourselves, and really what we're doing, I'm going to take a look at what we did last year regarding our impact. So we have, as far as our financial education program, it's called Comerica Sense. So we have Comerica Money Sense, and Comerica Money Sense is just going out and speaking to individuals in the low to moderate income community. And we're talking about different topics such as how to improve your credit, how to improve your credit score, how do you budget, right? And we go deep down, we do a deep dive into these topics. you know um if you have a certain number of different things on your list, what are needs, what are wants, and how you differentiate those. And even if you have a need, so cell phone, we all know that a cell phone is a need right now. But do you need to buy the most expensive cell phone, or can you get by with one that's a little bit cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So just trying to make those educated decisions, and that's really how we hope to impact the community. So those money sense programs, but then we also have business sense programs, and we have our business boot camps. So our business boot camps, we actually hosted over 2,000 small business boot camps last year.
Mhm.
And those money sense
A
programs, we
lot.
were able to yeah we were able to impact 79,000 individuals last year through our Comerica financial education programs. But some of those small business boot camps, they have topics such as online marketing and branding. That's huge. And
Mhm.
you, as business owners, you have to have an online presence. If you
Yes.
don't have an online presence, individuals are going to believe that you are not legitimate. You have to have social media presence, you have to have a website. I recommend having an email address with your particular company name as
Mhm.
the domain, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of people, they'll have, businessx at gmail.com. Okay,
Gmail.com.
that's
I
fine.
I do that too sometimes
you,
because I
you
have
know
so many emails, they just kind of flood into that one. But I hear
yeah,
you. I hear you, Kevin.
yeah, and I mean that's totally fine, but from a consumer standpoint, you have
Mhm.
to look at it, as a consumer. How is a consumer going to believe that you are legitimate? They're going to look at reviews on Google, they're going to look at your social media presence and see what you're doing. What
Mhm.
are other people saying about you? So these are the types of topics that we want to talk about, we want to discuss with small business owners, because there's some they know how to create X product. They know how to
Mhm.
deliver Y service. They know how to uh, do very well at their particular craft. But when it comes to running a business, they need some assistance, especially when it comes to the financial piece. And really, people in that look like us, we want to assist them. So, small business banking, what different options are available for products and services? How can you pay your vendors? How can you accept money? Um, how do you develop a business plan? Where do you see your business growing in the next 3 to 5 years? How
Mhm.
can it grow? What does it take in order for it to grow? So we talk about all those different things.
Mhm.
So those are just some of the things that we're doing. So we do provide the human capital to teach those different topics and such, but we also write checks as well, right? So we provide funding to our nonprofit community partners. And there's one that I want to highlight here. most notably, we did partner with the National Business League, and that's the first and largest independent trade association for Black-owned businesses in the U.S.
Mhm.
And our partnership, we had a $1 million investment over a 4-year period, and that helped to launch the Black Capital Access Program, and that's an access to capital initiative to assist Black businesses across the country. So among those things, we also utilize something called Business HQ. That's currently in our Dallas market, and we're looking to replicate that among all of our geographic footprint. But that's where our small business owners, our nonprofit community partners, they can utilize space, and they have access to high-speed internet. They can sit down, they can talk to their clients, they can utilize phone service, and all of this is done free of. There may be a small fee involved, I'm sorry, but it's not an exorbitant fee. But those are just some of the things that we're doing in order to impact Black businesses, and in order to make the playing field a little bit level.
Wow,
Awesome.
that's exciting. You know, before I ask my question, do you have a follow-up that you wanted to say, Sarah?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, go on. Okay. Well, what I want to also comment on, Kevin, is that Forgiving for Living has actually participated several times with your Money Sense program with our young people. And I can tell you that it really went over successfully, even during COVID. Because, you know, we weren't sure. Actually, we almost had more participants during COVID because we could get different people online that sometimes were not coming in person. So I know the power of your Money Sense program and the difference that it is even touching in young people's lives. Because one of the things that we've done at Forgiving for Living that we've learned is you can ask young people, do you make money? And they're like, no, you know, that kind of thing or whatever. And then you start saying, do you get allowance? Some do, some don't. Do
Hmm.
you babysit and get paid? You know, you start asking different questions, and then they start thinking about money in a different way. And then you start saying, like you said, okay, so what are your expenses? What, even if your parents have to pay for it, like a cell phone, because it seems like every kid has a cell phone, no matter what their age. And then they have to start thinking about budgeting. And the younger we can start with young people, the better, because otherwise, sometimes we take certain habits into our adulthood that we should have gotten corrected as youth. That would help us even along our journey a lot better. There was another comment that you were talking about that I think is also critical and crucial for entrepreneurs and for small businesses is to understand their credit. It's amazing to me how many people I talk to who never have pulled an Experian, you know, credit report or something, and then they don't understand why they're struggling with qualifying for certain types of, you know, special programs and projects. Just because they're available doesn't mean you're prepared, doesn't mean you're ready in order to take advantage of those programs. So everything that you're saying is right on point, because the smaller the business, which you said Comerica is committed to helping those that are small businesses, the more knowledge, more information, and the more outside help that they or we need, because we don't have a staff of 20 or more, 10 or more sometimes, that can really deal with the different departments within our businesses. So we need to have that type of access to experts such as yourself, such as Comerica Bank, that's willing to go into the community and provide those services. One of the things that I also know for a fact is Forgiving for Living, when we opened up our nonprofit account with you in the Crenshaw district in LA, they also made their office available, even though it was small, that if you need to come in here and do something, because our territory is pretty, I would say, broad. I don't know if large is the word, but broad. So if you're
Hmm.
in one part of LA or, you know, Southern California, out in the Inland Empire area, say, but yet you need to have a neutral place that you can connect with people you're trying to serve, it is so important to have that. So when you were talking about the HQ in Dallas, hurry up and get that here in California too, because we need you here too as well, for sure. But I just wanted to thank you for commenting on that. And now I have a question that I want to ask you. So
Yes.
My experiences have been multifaceted. People who know me here in Southern California know that, we have the nonprofit with Forgiving for Living, but I also have a small consulting in business that helps the community at large. And the majority of my clients are nonprofits, whether it's strategic engagement and making sure they meet the right people, or whether it's community relations and just helping them overall with their brand and connecting to make sure they're ready for different opportunities. And one of the things that I've learned, that as a Black woman, I have faced certain challenges that sometimes my other counterparts that are not African American never really deal with. But the point I want to make, and I would like for you to kind of elaborate on it a little bit, is the difference that I have learned is about relationships. That, sometimes, even though we may not have certain access, or we don't have certain, I'll just say a size in terms of what we might be able to bring to the table, when you have the right relationships with the right entities, they can help guide you. They can help make sure that you have the information you need. And the other thing that I've also learned is, and it's not quote unquote inside information, but because it's what say Comerica would do for any one of their partners. And that is like, hey, why don't you come in and let us just look at your stuff? Let's look at your books, or let's look at what you're trying to do. Why are you having problems with possibly getting that grant or possibly getting that business loan? And sometimes it's something very, very simple, but if you don't know, you don't know. And you better ask somebody. So I'm coming to you to say, how do small businesses and how do, say, nonprofits, entrepreneurs start to build that right relationship with their contact at Comerica?
Yes. Very good question. So, first of all, I really want to applaud you for taking that step in order to be an entrepreneur. It's not easy. I'm sure there's some sleepless nights, and
A
really, as
lot.
an entrepreneur, yes, really, as an entrepreneur, I know that you work harder than individuals that have a 9 to 5. That's just fact. I don't know any data, but I know that you're constantly, you have to do so many different things. You have to market your business, you have to brand your business, you have to provide the solution. So I applaud you for that.
I've been
Yes.
around for 30 years,
That
3 decades.
and we just had a study that a lot of small businesses, they don't last. They don't
Yeah.
survive, especially ones that, that are by us and for us, right? So
Mhm.
congratulations on being in existence for 30 years with your small business. So um it, it's it's definitely a tall order, a tall task. So but really having a strong relationship with your banker, it's going to make all the difference in the world.
Mhm.
um I definitely recommend vetting your banker, right?
Mhm.
You want to make sure that your banker is knowledgeable. You want to make sure that your banker is also trustworthy, right? One of Comerica's missions is really to add value with every client transaction, um, or with every client interaction. So our bankers were trained to be able to identify business owners' goals and then
Mhm.
discuss different solutions. How can we help you achieve your goals? Right? The best financial institutions are going to do this. If you walk into a financial institution and you sit down at a desk and they're not doing that, I do not recommend that you continue to do business with them, because they really need to learn about you. They need to learn about your organization and what are you trying to accomplish? What problems are you facing? Um, you know, really, and don't be afraid to talk to them about your business. Once you find someone that is trustworthy and knowledgeable, you really want to talk to them so that they can fully understand your situation, so that they can recommend the right products and services for you. They're really going to help you protect your money, borrow money, save, invest. They're going to help you be able to do all of those things. And then they may also have partners that they could recommend to you to help you grow and sustain your
Mhm.
business, right? If you
Mhm.
need a good accountant, it might be a recommendation from a banker. If you need a good lawyer, it might be a recommendation from a banker. Even on the banking side regarding products and services, if you need to accept the money or if you need to send money out, maybe that's a treasury management representative that you need to speak to. If you need to borrow money, maybe it's a small business lender that you need to speak to. Wealth management, if you have employees, you need to provide 401k benefits. Maybe you need to speak to a dedicated wealth management individual. And then once those individuals are brought into the picture, you want to make sure that you vet them as well. They have to be knowledgeable, trustworthy, know what they're talking about. So it really can make all the difference in the world, because there could be a business owner out there that needs all of those things, right? And if they don't even have that initial conversation, if they're wary about leaking too much information or sharing this information, they're not going to get to that next step. They're not going to be able to grow. So really, that relationship with your trusted banker, it's going to be key in order for growth.
Mhm. Yeah.
I second that, because I know for a
I'll
fact,
third that.
yeah, that it does make all the difference in the world.
Mhm.
And and it's not about just one time either, right, Kevin? I mean, it's an
No,
ongoing building of a
Mhm.
relationship. And, I like somebody told me a long time ago, they're like, you sure do keep in touch. I was like, I'm going to keep in touch till you tell me to stop. It's like,
that's
no,
perfect.
hello, Merry Christmas,
Mhm.
Happy New Year, Happy birthday,
Yeah.
whatever it is, in terms of making sure that I want to make sure Forgiving for Living staying on their mind, because I also know that there's so many competing entities out there that if there's only so many people you can help at a time, and so because of that, you tend to follow up with people who follow up with you. And I think it's
True.
just it's just simple that we have to do our part too, in terms of small businesses, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and we can't just depend on just you to think of us or keep us on top of mind. We have to help remind you. It's like when my children were little, I used to say, help me help you, please. So it's the
I'm
same
doing
thing.
that now.
Yeah, help me help you, please. And making sure that I remember all the things that they needed to do. Sure, it's on mommy's list, but help me. So that's
Yeah.
what we need to do as small businesses and
Yeah.
entrepreneurs and nonprofits, is help you help us by
Right.
providing information, keeping in touch, and strengthening that relationship. So thank
Mhm.
you.
You are truly your best advocate.
Mhm.
Yeah, and oftentimes too, when they know you and they may see something or whatever and think of you and
Yes.
call you and tell
Mhm.
you, or they're looking out for you in certain ways. So you never know where your opportunities come from, especially when if you're not reaching out and making those relationships.
I,
So
I,
very
I have a
key.
I have a quick story about that. So previously, I was a banking center manager. So I've been in Comerica for 18 years, and for 7 of those years, I was an assistant manager, and for 10 of those years, I was a banking center manager. And just to go right along with what you said, Sarah, I was in a meeting with our merchant services representative, and the merchant services representative said something, and I immediately thought of one particular customer specifically, and I want to say it may have been around Apple Pay or something along those lines. But I said, this is something, and I think we had just had a similar conversation, and I thought of them. I discussed it with them, and it really helped them to attract more clients
Mhm.
to their business. So definitely, when you have that type of rapport, when you have that type of camaraderie, and
Mhm.
you really just you think about certain people in certain situations, and you want me as a banker, and I will vouch for plenty of our other colleagues at Comerica that are like on the retail side, even our middle market, small business lending. We want we want our business owners to succeed. And when we think of solutions, at the time when they think of it, we might say, I don't know. Let me do
Mhm.
some research. And then when it comes to us, hey, I talked to such and such, I have this idea, let's go this route, right? So that's really what we're trained to do. We're trained to assist financial We're trained to assist entrepreneurs, small business owners reach their financial goals.
Yes, indeed. Great example, great story to hear. And those, you count those as wins, right? That when you make those connections, it also has a certain feeling too, when you know that, wow, been able to create present or offer an opportunity or something. Whereas if you didn't know that person, that business or whatever, it would never have happened. So we love hearing about that. So yeah, stay in touch with, not only your banker, but just anybody in, the industry or what have you, or any other industry that, that can help make connections for you. And if they don't know you, how can they do that, right?
Very true.
So yeah, so and I have to say too, Wendy's talking about her 30 years and stuff, but I know that for the Black Business Association, I know that Comerica Bank has been a partner with Black Business Association for more than 30 years, and as well as we have our branches, the Crenshaw branch here in the LA as well, and so we are happy to have that history and that relationship with Comerica, and we're looking forward to continuing in partnerships and moving forward. And my last question is one of the things that, like referencing back to the Brookings article, they have this initiative where it's wanting to increase, because really they're looking at employer-based firms and wanting to increase the amount of employees that they have, and which represents scaling up these businesses, and it then therefore exponentially creates more revenue turning. I think it's like it's a 15-55 plan, raising it up where 15 up increasing employees by 15% can get $55 billion additional in revenue. So I believe I have that right. But the whole point is that there's a scaling effect that happens when just increasing just a little bit can mean so much. So having said that, and looking forward to opportunities on how businesses can scale, and with Comerica as a partner, what kind of things, what kind of stuff, products or initiatives, or something that there's available for businesses to be able to support them in scaling.
Definitely. So I mean, really, once again, it's going to come back to partnerships within our organization. So at Comerica, we are currently working on a framework where we can have a dedicated small business banker in every single office. That's something that we're working on currently. Previously, it was up to the banking center manager. The banking center manager really facilitated all of the discussions with small business owners. And then as situations arise, if it's a lending need, you refer it to a particular person, if it's this need, etc. But we're working on having dedicated small business bankers in almost every office. If it's not in an office, there's going to be a hub and spoke where there's going to be one in a nearby location. So you, as small business owners, entrepreneurs, you can walk into a banking center. You'll be able to talk to a dedicated small business banker, and that small business banker, they're going to be able to talk to you about all of your needs, about your product needs, about your lending needs, and if they need to bring in one of their partners, they'll bring in one of their partners. So as I mentioned before, treasury management, merchant services, wealth management. If your lending need goes above what they can do for you, then they can bring in a business banker. And then once you get to a certain level, so really it starts off small business lender, then business banking lender, then you have middle market lender, right? So as you grow and as you scale, as you said,
Mhm.
your banking needs are going to become more sophisticated, right? Um, Small example, very well. An example I have is I used to go to a dry cleaners that was close to me. That dry cleaners did not accept credit cards or debit cards. They only accepted cash. And I
Mhm.
talked to the owner. I said, "Why do you only accept cash?" And she told me, she said, "If I accept cash, I'm going to have to raise my prices." So I told her the only thing that's different, really the only thing differentiating you from the dry cleaners down the street is your level of service. You provide the same level of service. So now it comes down to convenience. So if it's more convenient for an individual to go there and use their credit card or debit card as opposed to I have to come here, I forgot my cash. Now I need to go find an ATM machine or find somewhere that does, the debit with the cash back and then pay you. You
Mhm.
are less convenient than the dry cleaners down the street.
Mhm.
And I'm unfortunately that dry cleaners closed.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
you, we sometimes we sometimes don't we just have to
Say
find
it.
ways to make it we have to
Say it.
find ways to make doing business as convenient as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Whether it's ordering something online and paying with your debit
Mhm.
card, whether it's an Apple Pay or a Samsung Pay, you have to make doing business convenient because the consumer, they're going to find the most convenient way. And
Hmm.
if that particular entity is not it, then they're going to find a different one. So
Yeah.
I'm really an advocate for convenience and making doing business convenient. When I was
Mhm.
a banking center manager, I wanted to make it as convenient as possible when you came into my office to do business with us, right?
Mhm.
And that's what all of us do. That's what we strive to do at Comerica. We want to make it as convenient as possible.
Yeah.
And just like you said earlier, if there's a situation regarding like a credit or something, let's say someone were to apply and they weren't able to be approved. Okay, well, here's steps one, two, and three. This is how you
Mhm.
get approved in 6 months. Or maybe you need to see one of our CDFI partners for now. And if you go see one of our CDFI partners, they can supply you with the support that you need. And then
Mhm.
maybe you come see us in a year or 18 months, and then you can come do it the traditional way, pay less in fees, etc.
Mhm.
So that's really the way that we're taught to do business. We want to make it as convenient as possible. We want to um, uh, just teach and just set people up for
Right.
success. That's
Right.
that's really what we look to do. So as individuals and business owners are looking to scale up, come see us, talk to us,
Mhm.
and then we have the services that will be able to assist you as you look at the future. Some of and also we have a new small business convenient capital product. So this particular product is it's going to be able to render loan decisions in as little as 24 hours,
No.
and funding can take place within 72 hours of approval. It's a streamlined process, and there's a self-serve digital
Mhm.
application as well. So that's just one of the newest uh, products and services
Mhm.
that we have to assist our small business owners. So if you have a need to borrow funds, you can come to Comerica. The process is going to be as convenient as possible. It's going to be streamlined. And like I said, if we're not able to assist you, we have partners where we can refer you, or we can show you, hey, 6 months, do this. And then as long as you follow what these particular guidelines and what we're
Mhm.
we're, we're saying to do, you should
Mhm.
have a better chance of being approved and things like that. So
I love hearing that when people talk about or say about streamlining things and making it easier and stuff, because that's what is turns people away or turns people off or hesitant about doing something, and then there you go again, lowering the amount of opportunity you may have. Also, too, when you talk about you know when we the things that we need to do to be able to increase our capacity, increase our opportunity to provide more assistance and businesses to our consumers or business to business or what have you. And if you are not investing in yourselves by learning what's out there, how it operates, how it works, and all the kind of stuff, you're doing yourself a great injustice. This thing about the digital divide is real. All of these things in terms of that hinders us from growing and allowing ourselves to be able to have those opportunities. Sometimes, one of the times, because we're just not reaching out to understand and learn what's out there. So yes, stretch and grow. I know Wendy was telling me about, or she was reading about capacity, and part of that was stretch. Stretch yourself to reach out and gain the knowledge and understanding of the opportunities that are out there. Thank you for sharing that with us. So Wendy, I'll turn it over to you for your last question.
Okay, well, first of all, I have to say I'm probably one of those few people that would have helped your cleaner stay in business because I'm a cash and go person. Everybody talks about me. They're like, how do you always have cash? And my daughter and my husband are in a minute, they do everything either on their debit card or their credit card in terms of how they do it. I'm like, well, this helps me track. But I mean, I do use credit card and stuff, but you're going to laugh at me though, Kevin. Do you know it was just during COVID that I, for the very first time, used an ATM machine?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I know. And I've only used it once because I'm a relationship person. I literally go into the bank and I literally
that's
go in
awesome.
and they know me. They're like, I walk in
I
and
love
I
it.
mean, literally, hi, Wendy. So
Yes.
anyway, it's all about relationships. But
Yes.
let me ask my last question because we do want to stay on point and on time. And we just want to make sure if we have anybody that's watching that wants to ask a question, has an opportunity to ask you before we close out our Juneteenth program. So this is going to be a toughie, Kevin.
Yeah.
I bring those tough ones. Uh,
Yes.
we are in times where we are seeing banks close. We have been experiencing so many things where we see that, different entities, financial institutions are closing their doors. How do we feel comfortable and safe with Comerica knowing you're going to be around because we're putting our trust in you? And how do we know you're going to be around?
Definitely. So, first of all, what I want to say is, at its core, first of all, Comerica it's first of all known as a business bank, but second of all, Comerica operates it operates conservatively, right? When you look at some of the banks that faced the closure, unfortunately, they were doing some of the riskier things, right? You look at operating within the crypto space. You look at
Mm,
operating within the venture capital space, and
mhm.
doing so at very high levels, right?
Okay.
Comerica Bank, we may operate in some of those spaces, but it's very, very minute. As when you look at a percentage, you're looking like maybe less than 5%, right, of our overall deposit and business strategy. So we're definitely well diversified within our business strategy and our deposit base. Geographically, we're diversified. So we operate our major markets are Michigan, California, Texas, Florida, and Arizona. And then we have other non-retail services in other areas as well. You look at Canada, you look at the Carolinas, you look at Georgia. So geographically, we are well diversified. As far as our capital is concerned, we are well capitalized. We also have strong liquidity, including a loan deposit ratio of 75%, and we
Mm,
have high levels of liquid assets. We are a well-run bank, and we have the data to prove it, right? So, and we, as you mentioned before, we are also a relationship-based bank. So when you come into our establishment, you are going to get that feeling of, you just walked into your second home because everyone knows you. You've been able to have these types of conversations, and you have knowledgeable bankers that are going to look out for you and are going to recommend the right products and services that are going to help you as well as your business achieve its financial goals.
so we can feel secure. Okay,
Yes.
that's good to know. Well, I
Yes.
thank you so much, Kevin, for being with us today. I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah Harris, and she's the one who knows who's out there trying to ask you that pressing question and all the things that we want to do before we close up.
Yes, well, we've had mainly some comments and feedback. One, Sabra was saying that this is great information. Education is key. And then, okay, well, we have Roz Pennington. She says, I am a BBA board member and longtime Comerica customer. Comerica offers a number of great programs and webinars. I get this info, but haven't seen them advertised through partners like BBA or Forgiving for Living. I think they should be. So yes, thank you, Roz. We will look forward to having more participation with Comerica to be able to deliver more information about this. Um, let's see, Sabra Marie, in your opinion, do you think, this is for you, Kevin, I believe, do you think that we can close the racial wealth gap and improve economic mobility in our lifetimes? Or do we accept that it may not happen for us, but still do the work in good faith for the future generations?
Well, I unfortunately, Sarah, you actually had the data from the Brookings Institute, and if we go at the current pace, it's going to take 254 years to close that racial wealth gap. So unfortunately, I don't believe that we will see it in our lifetime, but that should not, the job is not finished. That shouldn't stop us from doing what we're doing and continuing to strive to close that wealth gap. As many individuals as we teach and we touch and we have an impact with, that is just another person that's going to hopefully improve upon their wealth position. Had they not heard us speak, had they not been a part of one of our organizations, right? So
Mhm.
I believe that we just continue to do the work, and while we may not see it, hopefully one day our children's children may see it.
Yeah.
Can I comment on that? It's similar to my church that I attend. We're in a capital campaign for, we already bought the property, but in building the building. And they've already said, some of us in our current generation or whatever, may not see, as I say, going into the promised land. We may not actually worship in that particular building, but we need to make sure that we're setting it up for our children's children and so forth. And I think
Yes.
that's part of what was being said. But I see you have another question, Ms. Harris.
Yeah. Gregory Sneed, that's good. It says, to what extent will Comerica Bank step up support for community-based partners helping to make a difference? I think it's kind of the same question with Roz was saying, but yeah, it's just in terms of it's just so important more than ever for partners like Comerica and Bank and others to know that there's a lot of work to be done. It's going to take a long time, and you can't just like do it for a quick hot minute and then say you did your job. No, it needs to be sustained and thoughtful and meaningful, actionable um, partnership response and pouring of resources in to help make a difference on this.
No, yes, Sarah, you're absolutely correct. So we have 11 external affairs market managers throughout our national footprint, and our jobs are to have these types of programs and really make an impact on the communities in which we serve through financial education. Some organizations write a check and that's all they do. And that's perfectly fine. Some organizations, they volunteer and that's all they do. They don't write a check, and that's perfectly fine too. We do both, right? We write the check and we also provide human capital. And based on 66,000 hours of community service, I mean, that says it right there that our employees, our company, we're dedicated to helping the communities in which we serve. So, um, we continue to strive to do more.
Mhm.
But we've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go.
Well, the proof will be in the pudding, right? So as we move forward and continue to work together, be able to demonstrate that work in the community. And so we look forward, just like with Forgiving for Living, the Black Business Association looks forward to continue to working with Comerica Bank. And we thank you so much here for joining us today. This was a wonderful, amazing, great conversation. Everybody in the chat is talking about good information. So we're so happy to be able to present this again today. And I want to say too, thank you for Forgiving for Living, because again, as I said before, like especially for my first one, Forgiving for Living works with at-risk young women and girls. And as well as I believe that boys, young men and boys can come in there as well. But the main thing is that um, the next generation, is
Mhm.
the thing. And so the BBA has always had an eye to making sure that we look towards the next generation, support them, uplift them. And so we love this partnership here and working together in terms of from an aspect of empowering youth. So with that, and was there any closing remarks or anything from Wendy or Kevin you wanted to say?
I'm just going to pass the baton to Kevin. Let him give a closing comment on behalf of Comerica Bank.
Thank you. Yeah, so Wendy, Sarah, I really want to just really echo the sentiments that you made regarding our partnership. You all are doing the groundwork in the community, and we're happy to support you. We're happy to walk alongside you and do that work. So thank you for being such great partners. Thank you for having me. It was this is my first experience doing something like this. This is a newer role for me. So like I said, I was
You
a
did a
banking
great
center
job,
manager.
Kevin.
You did
Thank you. I
great.
appreciate that. But yeah, I've been in the role for 8 months, and really what I've been able to see in this 8 months, it's truly eye-opening, and it's definitely rewarding. A lot of the things, let's say we go out and we do a career day, we might talk to some youth, right? The impact may not be right then, but maybe that, young boy or young girl, they might say, because I, saw you, that might, that encouraged me to do
Mhm.
X or encouraged me to do Y or whatever.
Yes.
And so by us just going out and doing it, we may not see it right away, but it'll definitely come. It'll
All
the
right.
rewards will come, the benefits will be there.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, we did went over a couple minutes, but it was good nuggets in that couple of minutes. So we thank everybody for continuing to stay with us on here. But we will give you back the rest of your Juneteenth. Make a wonderful celebration out of it. I know that here in Los Angeles, they have an amazing one in Leimert Park, and I will be stepping out to go there a little bit later on. But I hope that wherever you are, that you're able to have a celebration or commemorate it in the way that you like, and have a wonderful and happy Juneteenth. Last thing, check us out, the BBA, bbala.org, and forgivingforliving.org. And of course, comerica.com.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.